All right. Hey everyone, I'm Monique, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's LinkedIn Live session Transform Your Operations Power Apps, Automate, and AI Together. I'm here on behalf of Pronix Inc., and we're proud to be hosting this conversation in collaboration with Microsoft. Now, we all know the business landscape is moving fast, and staying competitive means rethinking the tools and the strategies we use every day. And that's why we're here to explore how Power Apps, Power Automate, and AI are coming together to help organizations streamline workflows, boost productivity, and spark real innovation across teams. Whether it's building apps without writing a single line of code, automating repetitive tasks, or embedding smart AI into everyday operations, these tools are opening up new possibilities for businesses of all sizes. Now, if you don't have the chat or comment area opened up, please go ahead and do so now. Just look down below if you're on your phone or to the right hand side of your screen if you're viewing us on a desktop for an area to leave your comments. This is where we'll be asking you questions and feedback. We want this to be a two-way street where it's truly interactive during the time we spend together during this session. Please feel free to share any ideas or questions that may pop up as we go through this session. In fact, let us know right now where you are joining us from. As you all are sharing with us, I would like to share a bit about who we are. As mentioned before, I'm Monique here on behalf of Pronix Inc. At Pronix, we specialize in helping companies modernize their operations using Microsoft's low code platforms and AI driven automation. From streamlining internal workflows to scaling digital transformation across departments, we help teams work smarter, not harder. And through our partnership with Microsoft, we deliver enterprise grade solutions that are secure, scalable, and built to drive real measurable outcomes. We're thrilled you're here with us today, so let's get right into it. Now, before we dive in, I'm excited to introduce the incredible experts joining us for today's conversation. First up, we have David Wagner. David, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a good day to everyone, and I want to thank you, Monique and Pronix, for this invitation and opportunity to speak today. It's also wonderful to be joined by Sailaja and Thomas, and I really hope today's conversation offers something meaningful, not only for us, but for our live audience. I've
Most
been in this
definitely.
field leading high performance teams for a little more than 30 years now. I've worked in all levels of implementation to executive teams and into ownership. In my circles, I'm known for being pragmatic and speaking with clarity and candor and having a strong understanding of what it takes to lead through these complex times.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for telling us a little bit about yourself. Next, joining us is Salija Mantri Pragada. Salija, how are you? And please let us know a little bit about yourself.
Hey Monique, I'm really excited to be here talking about this very interesting topic. Um, my name is Salija Mantri Pragada. I am a Power Platform and Copilot architect, subject matter expert. I have been in the IT industry for the last 20 years now, and primarily have worked on Microsoft technologies. So I am a hands-on developer and architect and a learner for life. So a Power Platform is something that excites me every day with the ability, we're going to discuss this during the course of this conversation. But yeah, right now I am helping Mass R&D tax credits. It's a boutique tax credits firm that helps with R&D tax credits for big firms. So we are automating IRS processes for them. And I got a chance to work with several customers across United States. I've worked in Virginia, DC, and Bay Area, and now I'm from Dallas, Texas.
All right. Thank you so much, Salija. Welcome. And then lastly, we have Thomas Rice. Hey, Thomas, let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Thomas Rice. I'm a senior IT application project manager at MCore Facility Services. I bring deep expertise across the Microsoft ecosystem, backed by 31 Microsoft certifications and recognition as a Microsoft community super user. My core passions include Power Automate Desktop, and Copilot Studio, tools I use to drive automation and innovation. Outside of work, for those of you that know me, I'm an avid traveler, having explored 42 countries so far. And Sunday night, I just returned from London, Paris, Rome, and a long weekend in Cairo. So I'm still in a different time zone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Thomas, for taking out the time for being here. Wow. You're definitely well traveled, and thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everyone who's on the panel here. I'm looking forward to our conversation. So let's get into the heart of today's conversation: how Power Apps, Power Automate, and AI are coming together to transform business operations. Things are moving fast. Organizations that can automate smartly build fast with low code and embed AI directly into workflows are clearly pulling ahead. But what does that actually look like in practice? So we're going to dive in with that. Now, before I actually ask this first question to David and Salija, I want to ask this to the panel, if you guys don't mind. For those who are new or have no idea, what would you say is what are Power Apps and what is Power Automate? Anyone
So
want to take that? Go ahead, Salija.
go ahead, David.
Sure. So, in my view, Power Apps, Power Automate are an elevation and a convergence of platforms that have been in development in other forms for many years, but they tie so many things together to allow you exactly what you're saying: low code, quick deployment, templates, and the AI coming into it is just so much more powerful than anything we've ever seen before. And when you tie it together with Microsoft's 365 platform, where you have your
Mm-hmm.
governance and you have your controls and this, it's really, I've never seen one solution that fits all the needs of an organization. Instead, you always have multiple different tranches of software and platforms, but this comes closer than anything else I've ever seen in tying all of those things together and making them truly work together.
All right. Well, thank you so much, David. So this first question is to you, David and Salija. How can businesses leverage Microsoft Power Apps to create custom solutions without deep coding expertise?
Salija, you want to go first?
Yeah. So yeah, Power Platform provides this arsenal of tools called Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and the AI Builder, which is now called Copilot. And with the entire ecosystem put together, like David mentioned, it that is what brings out the potential um, the entire process. So Power Apps, business processes. The point of what's wrong? Okay, let me get it back. David, you want to take it? I can, or I'll just go ahead. So basically, what I wanted to say is, with business Power Apps lets you put tools in front of businesses. So business users are the ones with. So just go ahead. I'll continue.
Sure. So the question is, how can businesses leverage the Power Apps platform without deep coding? Did I get that question right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think there's a traditional platform where you can outsource, but when you outsource, you also need to have internal, very deep connections to what's being done. They bring something to the table, but so do you. And the other side is you have so many different ways with the Power Platform to allow people to learn how to execute these items themselves. One of the real successful ways I've seen that done is I've seen an internal team in a company build a Power App called Workflows. And in there, they designed it to where folks in the organization, rather than using Excel spreadsheets or just fill in forms or PDFs, could go in there and define, well, step one is department A needs to input this information and then send it to department B, and B needs to send it to C. And by them developing this workflow process inside the Power Platform, once the workflow process was defined, now anybody could go in and build their own document and define their own workflow through there. So you have the traditional methods of being able to outsource and have a very powerful platform that can go across, or you have your citizen developer or your internal efforts that can do it. And the fact that Power Platform has the templating, I can't tell you how many times I've seen coders, people who know what they're doing, take their code and put it into Copilot to see what Copilot kicks out. And Copilot will come back and show you, here's something different you could have done. One of the more interesting, I think, conditions that I see when that happens is sometimes Copilot knows more than you do about how you might do that coding. And you might be using method A, and Copilot comes back and uses method B. And it's interesting to see the coders when this happens, because they go, well, I'm not really studied up on that code. It's thinner, it's more complete than mine, it's working great. And now they have something else to go look at. So when you talk about how Power Apps, how Copilot can create these custom solutions for people without deep coding expertise, that's inherent in the platform. But you also should consider having good resources on board like Pronix that can, they bring something to the table in terms of experience. They've seen what all these other customers have done. They've seen all these other deployments. And when you work with companies like that, that's one of the things they're bringing to the table, is a vision of what's possible that might be escaping you.
Thank you. And thank you
So
for sharing that example of the team that created an app called Workflow. So thank you for sharing that example. Salaja, if you would like to
yeah, so
chime back in.
another thing that I've seen in my consulting experience is putting the tools in hands of business users who actually know the pain points. They are the, so we call them citizen developers, right? So it could be a business analyst, a project manager working in the manufacturing team. They are the ones that are deeply rooted into the business, and they understand what processes are taking time, what are manual processes. So when we provide um, training and guidance to these developers, so what this provides is it's cutting your time from moving out from the traditional way of building building software, right? So it gives you the agility and speed in hands of the in-house team of an organization. You always need an SME, or like David mentioned, like a particular SME organization that can take care of big picture governance. You need a certain standards to just to set up everything for the organization. But the power of Power Apps and Power Automate is lies in the hands of citizen developers.
I would
All right.
agree with what Salaja is saying. I would add that one of the things those outside sources bring that is sometimes not the best use of the internal time is the connections to the data sources and the connections to the data points. If you want those done inside the platform, but you want them to be done carefully, so you're deciding if data is going in both directions or if it's coming in one, how much data, who has access to that data. And sometimes the internal team, like Sally just said, they're experts in the pain points of what's going on in the organization, and their time being spent looking at those channels while somebody else is setting up that back end connection. I've seen the advent of those two roles be extremely powerful in terms of turning things quickly and getting things to production where users can start benefiting from from those technologies.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially if it's from people who are familiar with pain points. So that is definitely a great point there. Thank you so much. David, this next question is to you. What role does AI play in automating workflows and enhancing decision making?
Wow. Well, automating workflows, I think what AI really brings to the table in one, I mean, there's so many, we could spend an
Sure.
hour just on that.
Yes.
One of them is the natural language. The all of the platforms previous, you go all the way back to, I remember there was a search engine called askjeeves.com, and it
Mhm.
it advertised that you can put in natural language because all the other search engines, Google included, and all of those, very well engineered platforms were keyword based, and they would scrub everything for keywords. And where AI comes in, like I'll challenge everybody, do this test. I love this test. Just go into Copilot and type in how much is 100, and let it come back and say, do you mean money? Do you mean in this currency and that currency? And if you answer back to it and say, what's your best guess? It comes back and tells you $100 because you're in the US. If you're in the UK, it tells you a different, but it puts your currency behind it. That is powerful when you're writing, when you're trying to solve. We want to have an input and we don't really know exactly what the input's going to be. We have a framework around the input, but still, even when you use the term a date, is a date this format? Is it that format? Is it a
Mhm.
word with a number? Is it just numbers? So AI is much better at taking that apart, making an assessment, and then delivering a decision, which is also exactly why you have to have good involvement in the output of AI as you move through what the results are, because you have to have a human oftentimes qualifying the results. And I've seen very effective where they'll qualify them for a while and they get it
Mhm.
down to where, man, it's just accurate 99% of the time. The inputs are a little all over the place, but it's dealt with so many of them that it is now able to learn as it goes, and you need less governance over it from the human side, where other endeavors are just much more complicated and you always have to have somebody, but you're still eliminating all of that processing. So I
Mhm.
would say the natural language is one of the big advantages that AI plays in doing the workflows. I would say another very quick one is extracting data. You have all these different sources of data, Excel and web forms and Word documents and emails and everything under the sun that can be your source of the data. AI and the automated workflows are, just let's say the best I've ever seen at culminating all of that together and then assessing it and delivering to you the suggestions of what it believes is most relevant. So I think when you ask, what does AI play in automating workflows, it's that it's not really decision making, but it is adding more than just what you told it to do. It's able to then also bring something that maybe you didn't even ask for. So it's very powerful.
Wow, David, you really brought me back with Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot about Ask Jeeves. But yes, I remember I loved going to Ask Jeeves because I could just, like you said, ask it in any question human way instead of it being in a specific keyword form. And so thank you so much for bringing that up. And
They were
also the
20
human,
years ahead of their time because,
right, exactly, because that's what
they
we're
figured
doing
that was
every day
important at
now.
the time, and I think they were
Right.
right.
Right. And then even just mentioning human governance, both piggybacking on what Salaja was saying, I think in other circles people say training the AI, but yes, I love that you brought that up. And yes, it definitely helps as far as fine tuning the outputs, despite the inputs could be all over the place, like you mentioned. Now, Thomas, let's bring you into the conversation. All right. So, what benefits do low code platforms bring to business users in terms of agility and innovation?
Wow, there's so much to talk about here, but let me try and sum it up here. One of the biggest challenges businesses face today is balancing speed with control. How do you innovate quickly while keeping costs and risks under control? And that's really where Microsoft's Power Platform comes into play, like Power Apps. They're a real game changer when it comes to agility and innovation. So think about empowering citizen developers, as Salija and David talked about. Traditionally, when you had a business problem, you would submit a ticket to IT, wait for that to get prioritized, and hope your request didn't get buried under, bigger projects. And that frequently occurs. With low code, people who understand the problem the best, the business users, the citizen developers, can design and deploy their own solutions even without deep coding experience. Because as David said, much of this is drag and drop technology with very well-defined, very, very good templates. And as I said, we call them citizen developers, and they're becoming the backbone of the digital transformation inside organizations. But the real benefit is faster time to value. So what used to take months or in some case even years and larger projects now can take days or weeks. I've seen cases where departments can create a tracking tool over the weekend and Power Apps all by themselves. That kind of speed brings enormous value because the business doesn't have to wait to move forward. And this innovation really isn't limited just to IT anymore. HR can build their own onboarding apps, finance can automate expense reporting, and customer service can design their own case trackers. So every department can take control of its own needs, which spreads innovation across the entire enterprise instead of centralizing it in one place. Lastly, to talk a little bit about, bottlenecks, so what is that? That doesn't mean that IT is going to go away. In fact, IT's role is going to become more important because we now are going to shift from being the doers to being the enablers. So we're going to provide the guardrails, the governance, the security, while business users are creating the solutions. And again, as I said, that's going to reduce the bottleneck and free up IT to focus on the more complex solutions. So, really, cost is another factor, as we've talked about in some of the previous discussion. Building apps internally with business users is far cheaper than hiring external developers or buying an off-the-shelf tool that may not fit the needs exactly. So low-code solutions tend to be more cost-effective and they bring better value in a faster time to the organization. So really what we're talking about is agility and innovation, and low code platforms like the Power Platform. They're the enablers. They speed up delivery, reduce costs, and empower business users. And again, let IT focus on where it's most valuable, all while spreading a culture of creativity across the entire organization. That's how businesses move faster and stay competitive in today's environment.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. That was very thorough. So I greatly appreciate that. And yes, hopefully those who are watching are really tuning in as to what Thomas just said and just our conversation overall. Salija, so we're coming back to you. How does the integration of Power Automate and AI create end-to-end process automation across departments?
Yeah, before I answer that, I also wanted to add to what Thomas was talking about. So the agility part of Power Platform and the combination of Power Apps and Automate, um, I feel it also provides an entrepreneurial way of doing things because the stakeholders will not have a first-hand vision of exactly how the output is going to look. And Power Platform, because of its low-code uh, power, it enables you to iterate quickly. So you just spin up an MC, an MVP, just a minimum viable product, show it to to the stakeholders, see what they think, and gather feedback, and it allows you to iterate quickly. That also adds a lot of, because if you do have to do this in a traditional work environment, it is a huge, every part of it is huge, because the IT teams will now talk about scope change. Sorry, it's change management. We have to go back and come back and tell you how much time it takes. Whereas with this, even if you are hiring an SME instead of a citizen developer developing it, the SME is able to build something, take it back, and build it back to your liking quickly.
Thank you. Yeah.
So,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Salaja.
yeah, automating now, talking about automation, combining Power Automate with AI, we've seen really very many use cases nowadays popping up. So I see that Power Automate is the engine, and AI is the intelligence behind it. So when you only used Power Automate, it's more like you have manual tasks, and the focus is to automate those tasks, make it easy and quick for the users. With AI pitching in, now AI can read unstructured documents, PDFs, images, and everything. So now in situations where, so if you are a startup and you want to see how your product or service is scaling, what people are talking about, you provide your social media accounts to AI, and it will do a sentiment analysis for you. It's able to predict outcomes, it's able to recommend solutions to you. And so it allows you to create end-to-end solutions. So talking about this in an enterprise organization, right? With So you could start from HR, and the process spans from HR to finance to procurement. So in the traditional way, you would say the HR team, puts out some job opportunities into a job portal, and then people apply. You get some resumes. So this whole process is now, you can set it up such that AI can actually write your job descriptions. You could tell AI, don't make it look like AI, make it look human readable, nice, good looking job descriptions, right? So you create the job descriptions. It can read all your resumes that you receive. It could filter them, send it to the hiring manager. So it could create end-to-end processes to the extent that the finance team is able to approve for those job positions, and then the procurement team is taking the next steps to maybe order laptops. It gets as creative as you can think. So yeah, that's what I feel.
I love that example. I feel a lot of organizations are using that same exact workflow, if you will, right now, as far as those who are hiring. So thank you for providing that as an example. For those who are watching us right now, if you got a question, please go ahead and drop it in the chat or in the comments, whether you're curious about AI, Power Automate, Power Apps, how it could work for you. Please do not hesitate to reach out. Don't be shy. And we're keeping an eye on your questions and can't wait to bring a few of them into the conversation. Now, David, how can organizations ensure data security governance and compliance while using AI and low code tools?
Well, I would start with the governance and the compliance, and then let's, do the data security right after that.
Mhm.
Again, we're talking the Power Platform, so we're talking Microsoft, and in the 365 entire, you know, suite of products and services, their whole ecosystem, they have done, I would say, a stellar job of having the security and the compliance permeate throughout all of the modules. And they use, a system called RBAC, which is your role-based access controls. So by giving you all of these predefined roles that they've well thought out about compliance and security, it's very easy to allow somebody, basic access to data based on its classification rather than its location, because so many data security models are built around the location of the data. But this comes back to, tools like data loss prevention that got a lot of traction for a long time, insider risk management and everything else that goes along with having data be secure and compliant. So their role-based access controls on the M365 platform, which feeds the Power Platform, I think is it's never not satisfied a need that I've seen or heard about, and usually it satisfies it pretty quickly, where you can get where you're going pretty quickly. I would also say that organizations can, do a better job of ensuring if they adopt from the beginning, separate environments. You need a development environment. You need a secure delivery environment. You've got to figure some things out. And if you do it in the dev environment and you work everything out that way before you publish it, that's good. Another, advantage of the Microsoft platform when it comes to this topic is you can set expirations on environments, on data sources, on user accesses. It's really powerful when you're talking about subcontractors or contractors or even internal people who are on a project and the project is going to end. I would also say that their auditing and monitoring capabilities, along with alerts and actions, when you tie it into the security part of the Microsoft ecosystem, the Defender portals and the security portals, and the Purview is one of their bigger ones now. You're able to not only just set the controls, but then see what is occurring. We've done a lot with data loss prevention with the insider risk management, where it's very seamless, very quick. I would also say that they're beyond their RBAC process, the process for policies is extremely strong. So you have policies in Power Apps, you have policies in Power Automate, you have them in each one of the tranches of the platforms, that while your role-based could permeate all of the platforms, the policies are specific unless you're dealing with policies that are in the Defender or the security portal. So just to run through that real quick again, you've got, if you're on the M365 platform, you've got RBAC, you've got policies, you've got the separate environments that you should utilize, and you've got the auditing and monitoring that help you maintain that. Now on the data security, and I'll do this quick, if you're integrating into this process fabric and Dataverse, then you're just going to be better. Because one of the biggest challenges in governance, compliance, and data security is the location of the data. And with the Power Platform being able to connect to all of these different sources of data, it's easy, I think, sometimes to say, let's leave the data where it is and pull from there. A good example of that is Excel spreadsheets. That's something that we've pretty much ended in all of the work that we do. Is if people say my source of data is a Excel spreadsheet, we say, well, then let's change that first. And let's get that into a platform that we can govern so that it can be audited, for example. But an Excel spreadsheet's kind of hard to audit as far as, you either have read access or write access. But if you have write access, there's no change log. So there's a lot going in there with the data location. So for me, data security also comes with the location where it's at. But the governance and the compliance come from proper use of the whole 365 platform.
Thank you. Thank you for walking us through that. In fact, there was a question that came in from the audience that asked, how do you handle data privacy when AI touches sensitive business functions? So I think you provided a good kind of methodology on how to possibly tackle that to the person who
I would
asked
add,
that.
yes, on that
Go ahead.
Copilot inside your tenant comes with controls that can dictate what happens with that data as well. Whereas some of
Okay.
these other natural language like ChatGPT, that's one of the failings, is ChatGPT is not as developed as Microsoft is with the data security in mind. So a licensed Copilot user, you have more options there.
All right. Thank you so much for that. This next one is for this is for you, David, and also Salaja. We're going to bring you back in here. What challenges do businesses face when embedding AI into their existing processes, and how can they overcome them?
So in my
Salaja, you want to go first? Go ahead.
experience, one of the challenges There are a few. I would say you start building at the citizen developer or the SME level, and once you build it out, the traditional IT comes into picture because teams want the solutions to be vetted through the enterprise architecture, security teams, and sometimes the original IT security teams might not be well versed with the security of Power Platform. So for them, it's a bottleneck. For example, we decide we are going to build on Power Pages, and we want to give access to external users. And we, as an internal Power Platform team, we are well aware of the pros and cons and the security, and we've implemented RBAC at the Dataverse level. But in order for to take this to the architecture team meeting and get an approval from them, sometimes there's a lot of back and forth that needs to happen. We got to be patient and either explain them, upskill them. That's one challenge I've seen. Another one is user adoption. So with the way, once we've decided to redesign a business process and incorporate AI or automation, we're saying everything is going to happen a different way going forward. So instead of working with folders, you're going to work with metadata, for example. So bringing stakeholders and users on board from early on, or at least after building an MVP, would be a good idea in order for people to adapt and adopt the new ways of doing things. These are some things that come to mind, and I'll follow up with after David again.
Yeah, I would second a lot of what Sela just says. This change management process is huge. The two ways that I've seen it done very successfully is in the beginning of the process when you say, yep, we know that we want to utilize Power Apps, Power Automate, and AI. Do a value stream mapping, get everyone in the room and draw out exactly step by step what the current process is. And you put a time factor on every one of the processes. You end up with a wall of Post-it notes, and on there, everybody can see the current process that's going. And you're only discussing what you're doing now. And there's a time factor at the end of it. Like it can be from this side to this side, we have 17 man hours is what it takes to do this process now. And then when you start on the other wall and you draw out what does the future look like, how would we define that? And you change, well, we don't need that process. We can roll that into this one. We can automate this one. And you come out at the end of it going, wow, we went from 37 steps to 24 steps, and we went from 17 man hours to 12 man hours. That to me is the moment I think where people see that if we can improve our process and get a better output and in a shorter time, that's going to be better. Now you go to work, you build those tools, you get this working. And this is the part that I think I've seen a lot of people miss, is that change management hasn't happened yet. When you get together with, you have to have an effort to get together with every user who this is going to impact and sit down with them and say, see, currently you're entering these numbers on this Excel spreadsheet and you're doing it by 9:30 every morning. And then you're posting it in this folder so that others can consume it. That's going to change to this process. And then they get to see what happens before, what happens with the numbers, what happens after. I see that missed a lot. So you've got to have really good clean cutoffs. Hey, folks, on this day, we're not doing this process anymore. We're doing this one. They've seen the value stream mapping. They understand why you're doing it. And then you sit and make sure that they understand step by step what their new responsibilities are. I've seen, if you do that process, I've seen it go very smooth. I would also say that the data quality and availability is a challenge that businesses face when they're embedding AI into their existing processes, because before AI, Power Apps, and Power Automate, I don't think there was as much need or reliance on the data source. Now in ERP systems, sure, data has been everything. Item masters are item masters, and they can't be change. They have to be governed and they have to be controlled. And we're very used to those processes. But at the same time, people have their Excel spreadsheets and they have their outside data sources, and they have all of these other methods of how they do their day-to-day job. And in order for Power Automate, the Power Platform, and for the embedding AI into this, those data sources really need to be well defined and not subject to what somebody wants the number to be, but subject to what the number is.
All right. Thank you so much, David. Salaja, did you say you wanted to come back in here or?
Yeah, another challenge that comes to my mind is governance. Like we did discuss about governance earlier, but um, the solution, or the approach, I would assume, is to start early. Start with the Microsoft Center of Excellence kit. It's called the COE toolkit. Um, get things in place in the first go, because what happens is it's the same thing that happened with SharePoint at one point. Even now, once you once you give the power to users, everybody wants to try different things, so you end up with orphaned canvas apps, a lot of environments created. I've even seen organizations come just for chaos management. They say we've opened it to everybody without knowing that it should be governed and controlled, and now we have like 1800 apps and like 180 environments. They just created environments with people's names on it. They didn't know, right? So I think before opening it to the world, with which is your organization, it's important to set. That's when invite teams like Pronix or some subject matter expert who knows what they're doing and set the base correctly. Have probably like a governance portal where people can request for a new environment and everything is audited and the process is set in place.
All right. Thank you so much, Salaja. And I like that you mentioned of having a governance portal. I think that's a really good solution there. So, David, how can businesses scale their AI powered operations across multiple functions, such as HR, finance, customer service?
Well, I'll come back to, the entire Power Platform, including Dataverse and Fabric. I mean, they're scalable by design. So your your scalability in those platforms is just built in. Um, the multiple functions HR, I mean, I think your strategy needs to be developed for utilizing the Power Platform and AI with a little bit more attention to detail in terms of longevity than maybe some other business strategies. Some strategies in business, you can know enough to get started, and then you can get started and you can let momentum build, and then you can grow with that momentum. But I've found in the Power Platform, you really need to have a little bit longer downrange vision and understanding before you start to roll that out. Now, I think that's somewhat what Salijo was saying with these multiple environments that can get built up by people. I mean, if you've ever seen a company with Microsoft Teams, and in their teams, they've all of a sudden got the channels completely out of control because anybody can add a channel, and here's, favorite pet Monday, and here's favorite restaurant Tuesday, and everything can come in there. That you again, with this platform, I think you just have to be looking further down range before you kick it off. You have to have a little bit more well-developed strategy. You don't have to work it out to the nth degree, but this is definitely worth the strategy. Now, if you do look a little further down range on that strategy, and you involve, like Thomas says, the citizen developer in that level where they have some vision in their departments about where they could go, but they also need the guidance of experts like all of us and like the folks who are on this meeting to help guide them and steer them in these ways. Like, yes, that's a great direction going, but no, we're not going to use an Excel spreadsheet. So again, in that strategy development, you've got a lot to put into that in order to make sure that you're setting yourself up to be able to do these cross multiple functions. I would also say that, a really good example to expose people to, I saw a call center using AI to listen to the recordings of the customer service calls. And then AI was assessing, was the caller beginning upset? Did they become upset? Were they beginning happy? Did they end happy? Were they satisfied? Did this provide a solution? How long did it take? How many efforts did it take of the support representative to try to reach a conclusion? It's amazing when you look at that and you say, man, there's no way that companies could do that before these platforms and then get the results and use them. So I would say, how can businesses scale their AI powered operations across multiple functions? It's forget everything you know about the past and think in terms of like this. It used to be somebody would tell you, they would like you to write a report, and they would tell you what they wanted on the report. And you would go look at those data sources and you would write the report to read those data sources and maybe with some massaging give them the results. If you can change that thinking to give AI access to the pool of data and then ask it the question, because how many times do reports have revision 3, revision 4, revision 5, revision 6? But that's the power of AI, is as you think up and discover, I am looking for a slightly different question than the report is answering, although it's answering what I asked it, you can just ask it. But again, AI's got to have access to that pool of data. So for us, it's been a complete shift in thinking about how we approach the questions that we have, from being so precise and so specific and keyword based into data availability, which means you have to be careful where and how you put the data so that the data is reliable. And that's one of the scalable pieces that you have to build into your Power Platform and your AI operations. Is the data quality has got to be like really high. So you have to remove that flexibility that people have enjoyed so much in these other platforms of just being able to put in whatever they want to put in. Sometimes
Thank
they
you
don't
for
like
that.
the answer that the data gives,
Right.
but it is the
Right.
answer.
Yes. And yeah, I love your call center example. Imagine like having human beings having to listen to those calls, the time that it would take, and the fact that AI can just do it very quickly. The time savings is just huge just from that example alone. Um, Thomas, you've been kind of quiet, so I'm looking forward to your answer on this question. And hopefully you have amazing examples as well. But what are the future trends in AI powered automation?
Yeah, this is a real exciting topic, of course. And those of you that know me, you know that I am talking 100% about Copilot Studio. So when we talk about automation, most of us picture, today, script, macros, bots, things that handle repetitive tasks and UIs that help us, process data. But really, the future of AI-powered automation is not just about saving a few minutes here or there. It's really about a lot of the things that David's talked about, creating intelligent, adaptable systems that can reason, collaborate, and even design their own processes on their own in real time. So I think this kind of came up in the chat as well. I think over the next few years, these systems are going to radically change how business operates. And that's why everybody that's involved in Copilot Studio is so excited, because it's right in the middle of this transformation. So let's start with the big shift, and that one example is the rise of agentic agents. These are AI-driven systems that don't just follow rules; they actually create, plan, decide, and adjust in real time. So here's a great example: an HR agent that not only processes vacation requests, but also notices workforce trends and recommends staffing changes. Okay, so that's a very common situation in call centers, in WFM and workforce management, where those agents can automatically process that vacation request, and then they'll backfill it automatically or make that recommendation. Another great example, is a finance agent that reconciles data, flags anomalies, and then negotiates with other agents to align with budgets, all without having a human um, tell them what to do. So now multiply that across multiple departments. You've got multiple agent architects where multiple specialized AIs in HR, finance, customer service, IT, all working together, and think of it almost like a digital leadership team. This shift moves automation from a transactional task, where I think we are today, to more strategic operations. So let's talk a little bit about the power about Copilot Studio. You may be wondering, how do we actually control and orchestrate these agents at scale? Again, that's Copilot Studio. Today, Copilot Studio lets you design copilots with knowledge sources and workflows. But tomorrow, it will act as the nerve center for enterprise AI. It'll orchestrate networks of agents across the organization. It already has connections to thousands of business apps, so these agents won't live in isolation. And with top level restrictions, as David said, a lot of the built in security and governance, it ensures these agents act responsibly. So, in short, Copilot Studio is becoming the enterprise cockpit for AI powered automation, balancing freedom, control, innovation, and governance, as we've talked about. Another exciting area is generative pages and that dynamic experience. So instead of spending weeks coding an app or a new form, imagine just asking AI to spin up a dynamic interface instantly, natural language for a customer onboarding portal, a finance dashboard, or even a self-service HR tool. That's really the power, and that's where we're going to see, more of this come into fruition in the next 3 to 5 years. These are not just static pages or static UIs. These can adapt in real time on their own. If a process changes, pages evolve, and I mean, if we've all seen it on a few YouTubes, you've got that wow factor built in. Um, but it really, if a customer needs changes, the experience will reshape itself. So this pushes us closer to what some call a zero UI, where we don't adapt the software. Instead, the software adapts the people. Last but not least, we can talk briefly about autonomous systems. These aren't just co-pilots. These are where coworkers, they're coworkers that can run entire loops of business operations, all, also under human oversight, of course. Things like supply chains, customer service, and finance operations. This is where efficiency gains stop being incremental and they start becoming transformational. Last but not least, let me just wrap up and say, the future of AI powered automation is about autonomous, collaborative agents, generative experiences that adapt instantly. Again, Copilot Studio is the best example. Businesses that prepare today by investing in governance, low-code platforms, and AI literacy will be the ones that lead tomorrow. We can say it. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's already happening, and it's an exciting time to be in the AI space.
All right. Thank you again, Thomas, for such a thorough answer, especially really focusing on the future trends in AI powered automation. I'm sure those of you that are watching are like, huh, yeah, those are some things, that we already see are happening or that are going in that direction. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, kind of to piggyback off of that question to you, David, how can AI powered automation enhance collaboration between human talent and automated systems? Because I know there's always that fear, or I swear every single day, if you put on the news or any kind of channel, you always hear AI is going to replace us or it's going to take your job. So I would love to hear your answer on this particular question.
Well, I mean, it's a good question. It's a deep question, but I'm cognizant of our time, so I'll go a little quick and hopefully not underserve the question.
Hmm.
I think robotics is really the opportunity to take away work from human workers, but AI it's going to shift the work that people are doing, but AI is incapable of feeling. So humans are always going to have to be involved in everything that is occurring, and the governance, AI is never going to govern AI. There will be governance tools that AI can deploy, but humans need to ultimately govern. So I think if you look at the value that humans bring, it's largely not in repetitive tasks. It's in the next thing. That's where humans are, they're we always solve problems. We always have vision. We always see what's next. So AI can suggest, and it can predict, but only based on what it knows. Humans can project and envision things that haven't been thought of or are sometimes considered crazy, and other times they become the best thing ever. So I think AI powered automation will really empower the human talent to focus in the areas where humans are required and where humans do a better job, because AI is not going to do the best job ever. Now, I heard Sally just say earlier in this meeting, that, hey, ask AI to write it so it doesn't look like AI wrote it. I've seen some HR folks say, I don't like this resume. It looks like AI did it. And I think to myself, but a person utilizing AI to help write something that's going to be distributed to other people is the new norm. That is the thing that people are learning to do. So we shouldn't reject what AI is presenting. We should embrace that people are using the tools in front of them. So when you look at something so simple like that, you start to realize that the interface, the collaboration between human talent and automated systems will simply make both better. It will not cancel out or eliminate one or the other. They're both going to be instrumental in us going into areas that we never thought were possible.
Oh goodness, that was a great answer, David. I agree with you wholeheartedly in all the points that you just stated, especially bringing up the example of resumes being generated, or it looks like HR person. Thank you so much for sharing that. Seriously,
Of
because
course,
I'm like, oh my goodness. But okay, we could go on and
I
on
told
with
you in the
that.
beginning, I'm known for my candor and my directness. It's a
Well, I
thing.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love you sharing all of that, and we could go on and on with that. Just that answer alone, but because of time, we won't do that. But thank you for answering that, because I love that answer. Um, we are approaching our last question. And so this last question, and those who are watching, thank you so much for those who have put in their questions. We will try to address some of them, but because of the sake of time, we won't be able to get to all of them. So I encourage the panelists that are here, please join in on the LinkedIn Live once we have finished this program and answer any questions that we might not have been able to tackle today. Okay, so our last question is to the whole panel. So the three of you that are here, what impact do AI driven workflows have on reducing time to value and optimizing cost? Thomas, let's go with you first.
Yeah, so I think the top three bullet points that come to mind are it's really faster solution deployments. AI and low-code tools reduce that development cycle, as we've talked about in much of the discussion today, and it allows organizations to bring new solutions to the market quicker. Again, we're not waiting months to go through the whole process. Power Automate and a lot of the tools are automating repetitive tasks. I mean, we're shaving off 20% of that repetitive task work. There's a lot of low hanging fruit there. So I think things like data entry, approvals, it really is just freeing up our associates to work on the higher value activities that the customer really cares about. And then, last but not least, I'll just say, optimize resource allocations. AI helps us allocate people, time, and budgets most effectively, and really just cutting waste.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. Salaja, let's hear from you.
Yeah, in my experience with we've implemented AI chatbots into tax technology. So the people talk about 75% reduction in time that it takes, because R&D tax credits is a process where organizations have to state that we spent so much money and so much time into R&D in order to get tax returns for that. So there's a lot of defending and talking about. So there are, like, AI helps with cases where you could get into the Jira tasks and actually flag them as qualified activities for R&D tax credit, right? There's a lot of potential where you could use AI, and that reduces the time that these SMEs from various departments spend on figuring out whether they've spent time on qualified activities. So this is one example that I give from the various industries that AI impacts. But the time to value is huge. And the cost, of course, as we discussed, I would also like to say that um, we do talk about the fact that Power Platform is low code, no code, but it also enables, there's something called fusion development. So you are able to build out as much in-house as you want and as you can. And then there could be some tasks or some functions that need enterprise scale. So Power Platform gives you the ability to write as your functions. There's something called code apps now. So you're you're still able to allocate and say these are some quick wins versus these are some important tasks where you will need to pull in an SME and spend some more money, but still the time it takes is far less. So
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Salaj. And then, David, what about you? What impact do AI driven workflows have on reducing time to value and optimizing costs?
I'll keep it short again in respect of time. I would say the entire Power Platform notion is about reducing time to value and optimizing your costs by having the templates and the low code element. I would also just state for everybody that this is not new. AI and the Power Platform, these are not new. These are evolutions of platforms like the RPA platform that was robotic process automation, and all these other tools that have been built and deployed for many years. And then we learn and we do the next evolution and the next evolution. And to Tom's point, AI is going to continue to evolve, and the Power Platform is going to evolve, and they'll build in, what they've learned and how to do things better and faster. So what impact do AI-driven workflows have on reducing time to value? 100% impact on reducing time to value. That's what they do. It's like saying, what impact does a vehicle have on transportation? It's transportation. So this is reducing time to value, and it is reducing your cost and making everything go better and faster. So it's inherent.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to everyone, to the panel. for answering all these questions. We're going to quickly do the Q&A because we have run out of time. So I'm going to ask each of you, we're just going to do kind of like a rapid fire, if that makes sense. So it's like whatever comes to mind, just give your answer here. Okay, so the first question, do you guys think Copilot will eventually link up with Azure services?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. All right. All right.
It's already linked up in many forms.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Synonymous. All right. Awesome. I love that. Okay. What industries are likely to benefit the most from AI powered low code tools?
That's a tough one. I would say every industry has industry experts who are working on the back end of that industry, whether they be vendors or manufacturers or providers. And they are all using and looking at AI within their market spaces. And so I don't know that there's any one industry that's going to be left out. I think that they're working very hard to make sure that. But I will tell you, manufacturing has been greatly impacted. If you look at Rockwell Automation, they release a industry report once a year. This time they had 1,500 participants in generating the report. It's 100% about AI and automating workflows. So I think it's pervasive.
Yeah, it cuts through industries, just like software development uh, is for every industry. Yeah.
All right. All right. And then I think the one last question here. Um, with Microsoft's direction with Copilot and AI in general, do you think they are trying to integrate everyday life processes with AI? This person would like to hear your opinions on what is the ultimate end game with all of the changes that we're seeing specifically with Microsoft's Copilot.
I think we're going to see, quite a few changes over the next 3 to 5 years. I don't know that that's a Microsoft direction, but I think in general, if we just talk about the way that we used to search, David talked about Ask Jeeves, the way that we search um, 10 or 15 years ago is going to be much different than the way that we search for information today. So I think, our outside of work, um, our lives are going to be impacted by AI. There's going to be better and better tools that come to mobile devices. The next hottest thing that we're probably all going to see um, this holiday season is the wearable technology, where you've got real time data, you got real time translations that just appear in your glasses, and many other things like that. So that's also exciting.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in here before we wrap
I,
things up
I
here?
would say yes. The question is Microsoft's direction of Copilot and AI in general to integrate in everyday life? Well, it depends on what you call everyday life. Medicine, absolutely. Delivery of services that enhance the human experience, absolutely. Access to information, making the environment safer. Because if you look at all these movies over the past 50 years, all highlight their little pieces of it. And I remember one movie, won't mention the name, where the AI component touted that we've reduced accidents on the roads by 130%. So I think the goal of Microsoft with Copilot is that it is their flagship product and their flagship endeavor that they're integrating Copilot with everything. And they, in the meetings I've seen with them, they are very open about Copilot is enormous to them, maybe the biggest thing they've ever done. So yeah, I think in everyday life, sure, it makes sense.
Yeah. In general, like with M365 in every person's everyday life already, like whether you're an IT person or not, you're using M365, Word, Excel every day, and Copilot is always with you. It's like we need to remember that it's Copilot, not the actual pilot. So I wanted to add to the other question which said, which spoke about AI taking jobs. So it's extremely important that we adapt and embrace the technological changes that are coming up so that we find our place as a human. Am I good at human oversight? Do I have empathy that I can offer? So if AI can do these tasks, what am I capable of offering as a whole, right? So that's the way to think about technology instead of running away from it.
All right. I love each and every one of your answers for that question. So thank you for answering that. And for those of you that are here still hanging with us, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, my name is Monique, and it's been a pleasure hosting this conversation on behalf of Pronix Inc. in partnership with Microsoft. And that's a wrap on today's session. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on covering the topic Transform Your Operations, Power Apps, Automate, and AI together. We've just seen how powerful things can get when you bring low code tools, automation, and AI into the same conversation and also into the same workflow. Hopefully, you're walking away with a few ideas on how to start streamlining your own operations, empowering your teams. I love that you use that word, David, empowering the humans, and speeding up your digital transformation journey. This event's recording will be available on the same LinkedIn Live event page for those who missed it or wish to revisit these discussions. On behalf of Pronix Inc. and our partners at Microsoft, thank you again for being part of today's event. Stay connected with us. We've got more to share as we continue helping businesses build smarter, more agile, and AI powered operations. Um, Thanks again, David, Salaja, and Tabas for being here. It's been an extreme pleasure to get to know you from the AI viewpoint or perspective, and I look forward to connecting with you guys again soon.
Thank you all.
Take care,
Thank you, Monique, and thank you, Pronix, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
everyone.